Hi guys. Okay, so we're starting a new series here where I am interviewing successful copywriters who are crushing it out there, how they got started, any tips for newbies, all the good stuff that I think could really hopefully bring you guys value. It's a long one. I will try and timestamp it. I'm first interviewing Corbin Buff. We have been in each other's network for a while now. He's crushing it. He's just a really cool dude. I have a link to his channel down below. It would mean the world to me if you guys could go just like check out his channel, watch a few videos. If it's your thing, please subscribe. I think so. I think if you enjoy my channel, you'll enjoy his channel. And if you guys know, I have recommended not like a single YouTube channel, not really for copywriters yet. So this is huge, guys. Also, I'm going to link to his product down below. It is called I wrote it down exactly, Ultimate Client Generation Bundle. Not gonna overhype it too hard, but like if you are stuck in the era where you are like time in your career where you need to start pitching, you need actual concrete template words to see it like the real thing. Like here's how I pitched, here's how I landed, here's the screenshots, here's the exact words I use, which I don't see a lot of freelancers doing. It is down below. It is a killer steal of a deal, I think, because you can see that these are the exact pitches he used to land the clients to get to the absolute number crushing amount of work he gets now every month. So that is also down below if that is your thing. It is approved by me. I can say I have gone through. He just gets it. Like I'm reading his pitches and I'm like, yes, finally someone who's not just like blowing steam up everybody's, and writing these like essay long pitches with all of these complicated steps. Like it's so simple to the point and you can see it actually work in real time. There's other gems in there too besides that, but I know getting clients is one of the hardest parts that most freelancers struggle with. So link to that is down below, but like I said, you can also check out his channel and like there's advice for that on there as well. So that is it. Without further ado, we will get into the interview. Hello, Internet. Okay, we have Corbin Buff with us today, who is a just kick-ass copywriter out here. And I will put links to all of his social channels below because he's actually out here trying with his YouTube thumbnails. So please go giving good advice and we will dive into Corbin's journey, and I don't know where this interview is fully going to go, but I figure it'd be fun to kind of learn from other writers out there
Yeah,
and
I
see.
can, if you want, I can start just informally with the
Yes.
YouTube thing, like with the thumbnails, because I thought if anyone wants to start like a YouTube channel, I was always like, oh, I'm never going to put time into these thumbnails or whatever. But I just made like a basic template in Canva, and people comment all the time that they really appreciate the thumbnails, which surprises me because I don't think they're like anything amazing. But like the code to YouTube thumbnails, which is like one of the few things I'm good at on YouTube, is
Yeah.
big face, big text, and like colors that contrast and like a consistent like branding color. So I use yellow, but that's like what I found it does well. But
I
yeah.
liked it. That makes perfect sense.
uh,
Because I was checking out your channel, obviously, to get some like ideas of like maybe things to talk about and all that. And I was like, look at this professional
oh
thumbnail
God.
geek out here. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to dive into like why copywriting, how you got into it, like whatever kind of like the start of your journey was
Yeah.
to like inspire other people who are out there dreaming of, the beach lifestyle that we clearly both
Yeah.
live.
Living in Montana and you're in Denver,
Colorado,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
the
we're both
mountains.
both living the laptop lifestyle. But
Oh yeah.
anyways, yeah, I basically felt my whole life that I wanted to be a writer and felt like it was really my only vocation and thing that I really felt like called to do and that I was good at my whole life was like reading and writing. And I'm a big believer in the idea of like a vocation, which uh, comes from the Latin vocare, which means literally to be called. So something that you feel internally or externally, like literally called to do. And I promise not to use Latin again, so I don't sound
Please
like a
use Latin. This
pretentious
is all
idiot.
writers. This
but
is our jam. We will go down a deep rabbit hole. Carry on. Yes.
yeah, even despite like feeling that way, honestly, my whole life, I basically spent my entire early life like not believing in myself enough to like actually go down that path. So like Stephen Pressfield kind of talks about like shadow careers. And so I had built this like shadow life of like, I was really good at English and like reading and writing in school, and I got my degree in English. But the whole time in the back of my mind, I was always like, like, and I ended up like doing all these different things to like try and get away from it. Cause there was this nagging sense that I was like, never gonna really be able to like make money at it or like succeed for whatever reason.
Right.
And so like I tried like double majoring in computer science. I like interned as a software engineer because like a big thing nowadays, especially with like, I don't know, male advice on the internet for like careers is like, oh, you got to go into STEM or like a trade, and like anything creative is just assumed that there's like no money at all in it for some reason. And so I did all those things. Like I tried double majoring or like minoring in comp sci, and interned as a software like developer, and like was not good at any of them, and like didn't like them at all. But I was just convinced like this is what I have to do to make money and like get a career or whatever. And so eventually, after like doing those things or like trying to and not doing them very well, I basically exhausted all my options of like trying to run away from what I always felt like I should actually be doing, which was writing. And so I just decided like in my last year or two of college, like, okay, I'm just gonna like go on the Google like internet research rabbit hole and like find some way to just make money doing this thing that I know I should actually be doing.
Should be your calling. Yes.
Yeah. And so like I learned about like there's like grant writing and stuff like that. Like there's a bunch of ways to make money writing on the internet. Blogging, like I know you've talked about like the mommy bloggers before who just
it is a powerful force.
Yeah,
do not find mommy bloggers, man. They are dominating Pinterest.
Yeah, there's people writing who crush it in all sorts of like different ways that are like not in the limelight. But anyways, I went down like the Google rabbit hole and eventually found this like very if I saw it today, it would seem like super sleazy to me, like Reddit thread on r/copywriting. And it was like, I'm a freelance direct response copywriter and I make like 30 grand a month and I travel Thailand and I work like 3 hours a day. And I, of course, like being like 21 or something at the time, I was like, wow, that's freaking amazing. And there's no way this person is like lying. But anyways,
definitely everyone tells the truth on the internet.
Yeah. So I read that whole thread. And actually they did like whoever the mod of the subreddit is like verified the dude and like his income. So I guess it was legit. But anyways, that was my introduction to copywriting like at first. And of course, like in that thread, people are asking him things, and it's the very typical like direct response kind of like answers or path that people like lead you to when there's like this very like for some reason harsh divide between like content marketing and direct response copy, I feel like for some reason. But anyways, in the direct response like mythological universe, the thing you're supposed to do is like copy all of Gary Halbert's sales letters by hand for like 8
Always
months.
By hand.
And,
always.
And yeah, read like the boron letters and
which are like
Agora sales letters
Amazon.
are like the only way you can make money doing copywriting. So that was like my first impression. I was like, oh wow, this is like I had this very like mythological idea of like the heights to aspire to as like a copywriter, which none of which have ever ended up happening at all in my career. I don't think I've written a single long form sales letter for anybody. And yeah, so but that thread, even though it doesn't really align or like resonate with the kind of work I do very much now, it showed me that it was possible to like make more money than you'd ever reasonably want or need just by like writing simple things online. And so from there, I just sort of decided like, I've never copied any of these things by hand or like done any of the weird things that like people tell you to do. But instead, without anyone telling me to, I was just like, I was very into like health and like bodybuilding and stuff at the time, and like tonic herbs. And I would just like, I had this natural like tendency to sort of like nerd out about those things anyways, and was already like buying a bunch of products like in those industries and stuff. So
Yeah.
all I did was I literally went through like my Amazon like back catalog of things I ordered and like hit up those brands and was like, hey, can I write you a testimonial or review or a blog or like literally anything? You don't have to pay me anything at all. Like I'll write this thing for you. If you want, you can maybe send me some free product or a new product and I'll review that. That was basically like my pitch. And I got like one or two people to agree to that, and so that's what I
amazing.
did. Yeah. And
Never thought of Amazon. I love that.
yeah. And what else, I asked for like a testimonial too instead of in lieu of like payment. So
Hmm.
and the guy wrote me a really, I still have it on my website today, even though it was for a job I didn't get paid anything for,
Those are sometimes the
this
best
like glowing
testimonials, though.
testimonial. And so, you know, all like people I think really overcomplicate like getting started. They're like, oh my god, who's gonna hire me? And it's like, if you can do one or two jobs like I just described for free, you basically have an entire portfolio. Like you have samples with a real company, you have
Hmm.
testimonials from a real person, and no one that you show them to is going to know that you didn't get paid to do them. So you could just be like, it instantly positions you as like, people don't know if you're brand new or if you've been doing this for like years.
Yeah.
Especially like, you also don't have to have like a full portfolio, like fancy website of like millions of samples and testimonies. Like if you do what I just did and you want to write for other health people, like you can just send them two samples and one testimonial and it's like, okay, we're good to go.
Yeah. Oh,
And so
yeah.
that's what I did. I just like, I leveraged those things that I did for free. And another guy whose brand I really liked and was using a ton of had a pretty large following on YouTube and was literally doing like a live stream one day. And I just went in and typed into, you know, like the live chat. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, you ever need a copywriter or like anything like that? And he's like, yeah, actually, I just have like gotten an opening for that. So just like email me some samples. And so
And be
that
like, I'm
guy
in.
is still with me today. Like I
Wow.
still like do work for him. And that's the other thing I would say if you're starting out is like, it feels like it can feel like, you know, you're doing a ton of work and it's going nowhere and nothing is really happening and you're spinning your wheels. But then like you can get like this like a positive black swan moment of like, boom, like a big spike of like, oh, now you have a lifelong client, or like now this
Yes.
person refers you to someone else and they're a lifelong client. And you never know like what that opportunity is going to be or look like, but it can happen anytime. And that's kind of how I think about like everything now, like publishing like my own stuff. Like, you
Hmm.
know, a lot of times the stuff I'll make a video or whatever, and the video, I've made a video that I think is like really awesome and it has like 50 views, and like, no, I'm sure this has happened to you too.
Relatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
My like
And
worst
I'll do
videos.
something else that is like literally just me ranting at the camera, and I'm like, this is going to offend literally everybody, like no matter what walk of life or like political idea they have. And
Yep.
it's like my
Blocked immediately.
most
Yep.
popular video of all time.
Every
And
time.
so you never know like what's going to take off. So I would
Hmm.
just say to like take this approach of like critical mass and like quantity, like not sacrificing quality along the way, but just put out a ton of stuff, whether that's like your
Hmm.
own stuff or if you're trying to get clients. Like I see a lot of people just get frustrated. They're like, oh my gosh, I pitched 5 people this week and no one got back to me. And it's like, dude, like I'm gonna sound like Grant Cardone, but like whatever you think you're doing that is a lot of work, like 10x it, and then you will have the opposite problem. So if you're pitching like 5 people a day and no one responds, start pitching 50 people, and then at the end of the month you'll have pitched 1,500 people. And so even if 1 or 2% convert, that's a full client list, and like some of those people will end up probably staying with you for years to come. So you only have to do
Hmm.
a big marketing push like that like once or twice to have like a lifetime client list potentially. People are
It's
just
so
like too
true.
lazy to do it.
And you never know where they come from too. I think so
Yeah.
many people
And
overthink like, oh, I
your
don't have
book,
like a
by the way,
CR.
is
Oh yeah.
great for that, Jackie, because you give like an actual like, you know, one of my problems with like courses is people make like this like 30-hour video course and like no one goes through it. And for people just starting out, it'd be way more helpful to get your like pipeline book where it's just like every day just do something, and then at the end of the 30 days you'll have all the clients you need. And it's
I
like,
did not pay him for this subtle
yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's why I designed it too, because I was like, okay, like if you're only literally going to read like 2 or 3 pages of something a day and like
Yeah.
have something to do
Yeah.
instead of just like spinning in the dark, because it feels like
Right.
that in the beginning. You're like, where do I find these clients? I need to set up like a CRM and this complex. So many of these cold pitching courses are so complicated. Like you need like
Yeah. That's
a
the other
side
thing.
domain and like an
Yeah.
email and like this and
I see a
automated
lot
and
of
like
people, they go like, they get way too into like trying to do social media and like design the perfect website like
yes,
all at the beginning, and it's like you should not go down that rabbit hole. Like
no,
if you just want to like, if you have a job that you don't like, or if you're like coming out of college and you just like whatever, if you're trying to like get started and get successful at this business fast, like you just need to have clients and projects, and that's it. And you can get both
that's
of
literally
those
it.
without social media or website at all, which is what I did
Yeah,
for like probably my first 2 years. I didn't have either of those things, and
and so many I
eventually I
know
built
don't.
a portfolio in like a Google Doc,
Right, yeah.
and no one ever said like anything to me about it, like, hey, why don't you have a website, like what is this Google Doc, like clients do not
Yes.
care. So
No,
yeah,
not at all. I
that's
see
what
that
I would
all the time.
say.
They're like, oh, you can't email, you can't pitch from a Gmail account. And I'm like, oh,
Oh my
really?
god. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
As I still do that? Like, you
Yeah.
really can't?
Yeah, I would say like, I don't know, if you you can make like a branded Gmail. So mine is like buff
Yeah.
copywriting at Gmail instead of like, you know, uh I don't know, food lover 82 or something. Like
Yeah.
that's a stupid thing to like present clients with. But
Agreed. But like,
yeah.
is it the worst deterrent ever? Like,
Yeah.
no. Like I've
Yeah.
seen people pitch as
You
like the
could still
weirdest thing.
crush it as food lover 82 at
For sure.
gmail.com. So
For sure.
yeah.
You get those first few clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Let me think. Like, yeah. I mean, it's so great that you also just like went in. I try and tell people like just do something before that overthinking starts to like I tell people I'm like click off my videos immediately. Like if you get that
Yeah.
like inspiration in that moment to like send your first pitch, like if you're in the
Yep.
middle of watching this interview, pause it, come back. Corbin's great. You need to see,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like just go do the damn thing right
Yep.
now.
And people have like different personalities and like are wired differently. So different
For
things might work for
sure.
you. I know some people love cold calling.
Oh
My
yeah,
first
I
clients,
can't.
I got all through cold email and cold DM, and then just referrals and stuff. And, you know, yeah, if you're just starting, I would say like leverage what I was just talking about with like the law of large numbers and like the law of averages, where if you just like, if you hit a certain critical mass, like something is going to happen, like period. So just
It
keep going.
is.
And
There's someone who's gonna feel bad for you, regardless. Like at
yeah.
some point, someone.
Yeah. And then like after you build a bit of momentum, you can kind of like slack off with that. Like I haven't done like a really big like marketing or like lead gen
Hmm.
push in like forever. Like I'm more inclined to just like, if I see something that pops up on my radar that I think sounds really cool, I'll like, because again, it goes back to that idea of like the positive black swan, where you don't have like, there's like no downside at all. Like, okay, I waste 5 minutes and maybe get rejected, like whatever.
Right.
But like maybe it works out and it's like an amazing opportunity or whatever. So that's kind of how I think about it. But yeah, I had something else I wanted to say, but I forgot.
Trying to think where you're going with that. Just like taking advantage of it immediately in the moment.
Yeah.
That's if it comes
Yeah.
back, it'll come
Oh,
back.
this is the
Yeah.
other thing is like once you have momentum, what I like to do is like, this is the other thing like people don't really talk about, but there are a lot of like, in the freelancing game, there is a lot of what I would call like soft costs and soft benefits, where it's
Mhm.
not like a tangible thing. So like, for example, let's say you're established and you have like a couple of clients, but like you want to like, there's always this temptation to like scale by like kicking one client off in favor of someone who like pays you a little bit more or whatever.
Mhm.
And for a long time I was on that like treadmill, but I found if you have something really good going with someone, you should stick with them, because there is a huge like soft cost or opportunity cost in like onboarding people, deciding they're a good fit for you. Do they have consistent needs? Like, are they going to refer you to other people? Do you like the kind of writing that they're asking you to do, and do you want to do it for over the long haul? And so if you can find people where the answer to all of that is yes, even if like, if I found someone who would pay me 20% more than someone who I say yes to all that stuff, I would keep the lower paying person, because I'm just like inclined to, you can raise prices with them or ask them for referrals, ask them to go deeper and provide you more work. Like there's a whole bunch of ways to like get more out of people that you really like serving and helping, instead of just like churning and burning people and staying on like a constant treadmill that way. So like that's something I think would help people like over the long haul, is like that.
Fully agreed. Oh my God. Yeah. Like I have some that I've kept, and like the rate is like, nah, but like they don't edit my work ever, like they just take it and they just go with it. Like they don't give me all this headache. They don't want calls all the time. They don't text me.
I have clients, people think I'm insane when I tell them this, but I have clients who either I've talked to them once when I like first onboarded them, or I've literally never had a conversation with them on the phone at all. Best clients ever. for like someone who's a very introverted like person. Other people are like, I told my my dad that, and he's like, what? Like how like people who are in like a more traditional business would be like, I have to like feel person out like over the phone and to sense if it's a fit. But yeah, that's the other thing I would say about like freelancing that no one talks about, is like building something that like aligns with who you are and like what your natural tendencies are. So I've told that anecdote to people and they're like, that's the stupidest thing. They don't say that, but they're like, I would never do that. Like I need to have like onboarding calls, like a which I feel has become like kind of a cringy like sales tactic now, is like, let's have our free 30-minute discovery call, which is why I never like pitch people with it. But yeah, like if you don't like having calls, like there's a way to set your business up that you don't have to do that. Like if you don't like dealing with clients who have like 3 rounds of revisions, like you don't have to do that. And as you get more like developed in this like industry, I guess, you can start like it's still hard work, like introspecting and like deciding like what you actually want to do and what you want your business to look like, and like who you are, because no one ever like teaches you that in this world. Instead they just like tell you to go to school and then like get this job because it's what you're supposed to do. And so no one is actually like good at like introspecting and like finding out what they should be doing unless they've had like incredible parents or like a life coach or like a therapist or something. And which so
is probably like 1% of the whole population,
And so like I've literally like I will take like periods in my business where I do like very minimal work and I just sit around and like think about those things, which I'm sure sounds like the stupidest thing in the world to like tons of people, like, oh my God, you're like leaving so much money on the table, like you could be taking on more work. And it's like to me it's more important just to like if I'm going to be doing this for years and years and years, like I want to think about like how I'm setting it up, and that time is like priceless. So that's the other thing I would say.
I fully agree. I do it. I've noticed my birthday's like dead smack almost middle of like the year. So I always do it like every 6 months, like Christmas. And then like my birthday, I just take like 2 weeks off and I like think, and I try and tell that to other freelancers. That's why I'm so glad I'm talking to you just now.
And you don't need to have like a big like ritual, just like you can journal or something, or just like sit around thinking about it. But there are people who like Tim Ferriss literally just like fasts and like rents a cabin in the woods for like a month, and
I
all
mean,
he
it's
can
a
do is
mood.
like write. And he's like, I have my biggest breakthrough is like doing stuff like that. It's like, I
Yeah.
guess.
You and me already live in the woods though, like, so
Yeah.
basically like it's right in our backyard.
Yeah,
So it's just
literally
like,
drive like 10 minutes.
yeah, we just like go outside. You know,
Yeah.
those are like city culture overwhelm. Yeah, I mean, so you went like all in, and then was there, like, how long did it take you to kind of get like
Mm,
livable? At least like, okay, I
yeah,
got my
that's a
bills
good
paid.
question. So I was kind of like, I consider myself lucky to have like found out about this like in college. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like, if you're trying to balance like a full-time job and
Yeah,
also get started on the side, that can be kind of tricky. And
for
in
sure.
that
Yeah.
case, like, full disclosure, I've not done that, but what I would tell people to do is try to like get writing experience in the thing that you're already doing, so you have like some samples and testimonials, whether it's just like you can write emails for whatever company you're in, or even if it's just like a flyer or internal memo, like write something so you have like some
Anything.
sort of portfolio before you start like, I quit my job. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super like risk averse actually, which surprises a lot of people. So I would never be able to quit my job without anything lined up. That's just
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
So like, I would say like get at least like livable, which
Agreed.
the other thing I advise people to do is um, like figure out just like what your expenses are, and like what the minimal viable like number that it's going to take for you to like live somewhat comfortably before you quit your job, and
Before you
try
set
to
your
get
life
to
on
that
fire.
number
Yeah.
before you know go have that conversation with your boss. But for me
Yeah.
personally, I was kind of I started doing this like while I was in college, so I had
Hmm.
like 2 or 3 clients like by the time I was graduating, which like sounds a lot better than doing it while you have a job, but still had its challenges. Since I was an English major, I was like writing,
All the
15-page
time.
papers on Moby Dick, and
People
then
have no
also
idea.
a
People have
blog
no idea
post.
how much
Yeah.
writing it is.
Yeah. And so like when I graduated, I was kind of like like barely making enough to like
Yeah.
probably pay all the bills, but I was also like, I don't have a wife and kids. Like, I was in an apartment with like 3 other guys, and I think my rent was like less than $700 a month.
Yeah.
And I own a car that is fully paid off, so it's like I live pretty like minimalistic lifestyle,
Yeah.
just in general. Which helps, by the way, if you are starting out. That's the other thing I would say, is just like stay kind of lean, which I know is like a cliche thing to say now, but like actually
But
do it.
actually do
Like,
it. Yeah.
don't buy a BMW your first like 6 months of your like freelancing business.
Yes.
Which I don't know how you do that anyway. You're doing better than I am, maybe.
Yeah, right.
um, but yeah, I had kind of like, by the time I graduated, I was kind of like making just enough to like live pretty comfortably, just
Yeah.
off the freelancing income. But I also did some things like, you can just get kind of like scrappy and thrifty if you really need to, if you have like the kind of lifestyle I have. So like, I was like the billing manager at this like at some company in town, which I literally just like sent a couple of emails each morning, and they paid me like, I don't know, $30 an hour for that. I would do like moving gigs for people off of
Oh
Craigslist,
yeah, the gig
and
economy is like
they pay you cash, and you don't have to report it or pay taxes on it, hypothetically, of course.
hypothetical,
Um,
100% hypothetically.
yeah, uh, allegedly.
Allegedly, that's what we
But
hear.
yeah, but I did stuff like that to sort of like bring in like extra money,
Yeah.
if I really needed to. But eventually it just got to the point where I had enough of like a client list that I didn't need to do that. And I don't know when exactly that switch flipped.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, for me, like the way I live now, even my like, I can live pretty well on like, if I made like $2,000 a month is what I tell people. Which I know like talking numbers makes some people like,
I
oh,
love to talk
you're a
numbers,
poor dude, or other people are like, oh my God, this guy's a millionaire. And it's like, you
Sell your
basically
course.
end up upsetting someone like no matter what. But
No matter
that's
what.
like, That's what I would say my lifestyle is like right
Yeah.
now. And that's the advantage of like staying lean is like, okay, maybe it takes you 6 months, a year to really like ramp this thing up, let's say. But in the meantime, just like wait tables or like something if you really need to.
And
Or
literally
like,
something that's not writing. I always tell
yeah,
people, I'm like, just
yeah,
something that's like
that's
not to like do something
yeah,
else to like give your brain like a 5-second breather.
yeah,
Like there's so many people who like do their own stuff on the side, like their own writing, their own blogging, their own all, and I'm like, that's fine. But like if that's all you do 24/7 in all of your free time, it's
yep.
like
I
it's
still think
hard.
about that now too, because I like
Yeah.
I have some clients now who like they pay me like $500 a month just for like proofreading and copy editing. And
Yeah.
I'm sure some
Yes.
people are like $500 a month. What? Corbin, poor boy over here. But
LOL.
like $500 a month would pay my grocery bill for like 2 months in a row. So like I'm not gonna,
Yes.
shake a stick at that. And also it's a very low bandwidth activity. Like I can do
Yeah.
that in like 15 minutes, put some music on, and I'm done.
Knock it out.
For so setting up like some, I think in terms like that too, of like having projects of like multiple different intensities
Mm-hmm.
as you're going,
Agreed.
instead of just being like, I know lots of successful writers who are just like, I'm the case study person, or I'm the healthcare content marketing person, or I'm the super annoying direct response like sales letter guy with like doctors hate him. Discover this 98-year-old man's secret to
Yes.
living an eternal life with six-pack abs in 3 easy steps. But there are people who like really love specializing like that, and I'm the total opposite. Like I get distracted very easily. I like to have multiple different things going on.
Yes.
I have no specialty at all, although some of the niches I write in now are very sort of specialized and like niche. But I'm not like the Chinese tonic herb writer, because it's like I know like one person who needs writing like that, so I'm not going to brand myself that way. And
Yeah.
I like doing it as like a break from writing about like fintech articles, let's say. But if
Yes.
all I wrote about was Chinese tonic herbalism, I would go insane. So,
I feel that spiritually. I feel
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why I love it. I'm so glad we're doing this because I think it's such a like realistic shakeup from like what's out there of like
yeah,
I'm a millionaire because I only do like health care articles, blah blah blah.
right,
And I'm like, are you though? First of all.
yeah,
But second of all, I'm like, for so many people, like we know statistically, a grand would be like life changing
oh
on
yeah,
top of
yeah,
whatever they make
yeah.
is like life changing for
Yeah,
people.
so
I'm like,
I have like
yeah,
a blog, for example, that is
yeah.
like just getting to the point of like between like running display ads and like Amazon associates and like some like products I launched are like, it's just getting to the point of making me like $400 or $500 a month.
Which is
Which again, people would say
so
like,
helpful.
oh, that's like that's nothing, dude. But again,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, like for me, I just said like I have a clients who will pay me let's say it's $500 a month to do their proofreading. And so now
Yeah.
I have $500 a month coming in from not having to do work ever again for like someone for that $500. And so that's how
Mhm.
I think about it. You know, and it's important to like also like celebrate your wins, I think, even if they are
Yes.
small, because it's easy to feel like I joined this is gonna be like a side tangent, but I joined Twitter because everyone is like, I know a ton of
Everyone just
people who are way
Twitter.
smarter than me who are like, oh, I have this great audience on Twitter and it's like
Uh-huh.
it's so cool. And there are things that I've learned from the Twitter community of like everyone loves Gumroad for some reason on Twitter.
Everybody.
I don't know why. It's
Everybody.
like the thing that everybody does there. So I actually really like Gumroad. But then
Yeah.
there are other things on Twitter. Like everything I see is just like 7 steps to how I started my multi-million-dollar SaaS company at age 19 while living
Uh-huh.
at home. And it's like, this is obviously like not true or relatable at all. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, why haven't I done that? Like, I suck.
Twitter has given
And so
everybody an inferiority
if
complex.
yeah, I don't know, maybe that says more about like my mental health than other people's, but I
No,
feel the
because
need to like tune that stuff out, or even like stuff on LinkedIn. Like I'll just see, like, if I look at it too much, it like drives me crazy with like other people's like humble brags, or their like
yes.
ads that they're trying to like sell
No,
you
I'm
on
so
their
glad you said that, because
program.
like literally the last, like, I don't know, 7 power hours I've had with people,
Yeah.
everybody mentions Twitter and the
Really?
sheer anxiety that it brings them, and like why they're
Really?
not millionaires. Like literally word for
That's
word. And I'm
amazing.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know what is taking, because Twitter's been like that for a long time, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I think the threads, I don't know, whatever, that's a side tangent, but like
Yeah.
even me, like after all these years, I'm like, I'll find a thread from some like 16-year-old and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like
And it
also
doesn't, it's like
post
not
pictures, but
actionable or helpful at all. Like, it's
no,
like my 7 steps to like building $1 million company. Like, if it was real, it would have taken the person like 10 years, and there'd be
for
like
sure.
so many
And they're like,
nuances that
step
are
one,
just like,
meditate. And you're like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Cold showers.
Cold showers for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, what a mess. So anyone out there, please know that it is not just you who did sucked into the Twitter rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And
Whatever's going on over there.
celebrate your wins, like Corbin said, of like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Even now, even when I still get like little projects here and there, and it was just like a
Hmm.
lot of work, and it was just like, even if it wasn't like, oh, like $10,000, just like something
Yeah.
I'm proud of, I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, I'll go buy a new plant. That's like what I
Yeah.
do. That's how I
Yeah.
celebrate.
No,
But
that's what
like
I do too. Like, find there's
something.
I don't agree with like a lot of like pop psychology, but there, I think
Yeah.
either Carl Jung or like someone said like the psyche likes deals. So that's how, like, I try to reward myself with things. Otherwise, I don't get anything done. So even if it is like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and then I get to go on a walk, or
Yeah.
like get to eat lunch, or
No, I
thinking in
love
terms
that.
of like, it
Oh my
sounds
God.
like honestly kind of like depressing if you think about it. Like, humans, they need that like carrot on a stick like hanging in
We're
front of
just
them. But
monkeys.
that's, yeah, that's how I like keep myself accountable, I guess, because otherwise
No,
I would
oh my
just
God, I
like
feel that.
play Maple Story all day on my computer or something.
Relatable content. Oh my God. If we ever have another interview, we'll have to sit here and just talk about like psychology for hours. That's my other
Yeah.
like side, like nerd hobby. But like, let me think, is there anything else you would tell, I think for the most part, like most people I talk to, it's like overwhelmed. First, there's like the 10K people, and then there's like,
Oh
they don't
yeah.
even know like the first step. I mean, obviously, like practice your writing, but like,
Yeah.
that's why, like you said, you started with like the things you bought like most recently. I think that's a great place for people
Yeah.
to start. Like, do you have any,
Well,
was
you
there
say
something really,
10K, do you mean like hitting 10K a month
yeah,
like
like I think
that?
it's like,
Yeah.
there's like this like
Very arbitrary
fuzzy
milestone
gap
that people
between like
set. Yeah.
your first cold pitch and then like,
Yeah.
I retired by the beach, and like nobody
Yeah.
talks about that middle, like I made my first $50. Like that's
Yeah, what
huge.
I would tell people honestly is like, I would say that like going from making 30K a year to like 70K a year will change your life for the better, I've found, and be like a pretty like worthwhile thing that is probably worth doing. But
Mhm.
beyond that, unless you're making like 500K a year, I don't really notice any difference in terms of like,
Mhm.
I mean, this is my like black sheep kind of contrarian mentality coming out again, or like my minimalism, or like my monkish living habits. But like, I don't, like, this year will be my first 6-figure year, and it's like kind
Yeah.
of, I gave myself a pat on the back, like it's exciting, but my life is literally the same as when I made like 30 or 40 grand a year.
Yeah.
And like when I made like 40, and then like for 2021 I made like 70 grand and some change, and it was like, uh I know I was finally able to get my own place. I don't
Mhm.
have annoying roommates to like clean up after. I have my
Yes.
my own home office, and so like making that jump in income can get you like a huge like return on your quality of life.
Yes.
But like jumping from like, I don't know, 70K to 100K, it's like, okay,
Okay.
I have like
Yeah.
30 grand to put into the stock market,
Right. Yeah.
basically, which to me is like not super motivating. And so
Mhm.
and that's another thing with like I guess like business owners that I talk to, and it's why I don't join any of these like masterminds or whatever. Like sometimes I like networking with people like one-on-one like this or
Yeah.
whatever, but a lot of like I don't have this mindset of needing to like constantly grow like my income every month or every year. Like I
Mhm.
to me, like if you are spending less than you make and you have a big chunk of change left over to like keep in cash to help you sleep well at night or like invest toward a better life, like that's what success is to me. And like getting that number like way bigger for no reason is like not
For
super
ego.
exciting to me. It's kind of like if you like if someone just like gathered up a bunch of like tanks of water or oxygen, like an essential natural resource, and or like
Just
stored
sat
energy
there with it.
basically, which is what money is.
Yeah.
And they just like had all this, like you'd think like, okay, like this person's kind of like stupid, like why are they doing this? But for some reason these people who like pile up like tons of money or like
Mhm.
material things or like fancy liabilities to like impress people who don't care about them, we tend to
Yes.
like lionize people like that, even though it's like usually a result of them having like a hole in themselves or like a traumatic, like something went wrong in their life, or like feeling the need to like constantly like prove themselves in some way, which is something I still like kind of struggle with, but I'm conscious
Yeah.
enough to like not make it the driving like force of my life. And so that's the other thing I would say is just like reflect on like what you want to make, honestly, which is what
Yeah.
I just decide at the beginning of the year, honestly, like, okay, it'd be pretty cool to make this year. And, and as long as I'm like on track for that, I have months where I'll like, or like, you know, the first quarter of this year, I had a really big windfall project. And so I was like, I could have easily been like, oh, give me even more gravy on top.
Yeah.
Like I want to like constantly be,
All of it.
I want
Yeah.
to have this like, and it just like I ended up like I said, just like playing Maple Story or like reading books, or I have other writing I do that I like don't make any money from, like short stories or
Yeah.
poems or like blogs that no one reads. Like
Relatable.
I'll do all kinds of stuff without any expectation that I need to have like a material return on it because I'm a
Yeah.
businessman. And so yeah, I've kind of pivoted away towards like I don't really think of myself as like a business person or entrepreneur, even though I call
Mhm.
myself a solopreneur, just because it's like an easy way to describe myself. But
Yeah.
at the risk of sounding like cringy or like neckbeardy, I'm trying to like make the mental pivot of like thinking of myself as like a gentleman of leisure or like an artist almost, where
Hmm.
like in
Oh my gosh, please
antiquity it
make
would
some
be like
merch.
if you were just like if you had plenty of money and you didn't need to like constantly be like frenetically working all the time,
Yes.
but you chose to, people would be like, what the hell is wrong with this person? Like instead, you know, you it would be like it's a point of refinement to basically be have all your needs met and then spend your
Mhm.
time being a flaneur, I think is like, I'm butchering that, but it's like a French term of like basically like a wanderer or like a leisurely person who just like whatever,
Mm.
like researches for fun, or is like an armchair scholar, or writes whatever they want without like any basically thought to like needing to like impress
SEO.
people with it or like make tons of money or like rank it on Google or whatever. And so
Yes.
yeah, I'm trying to basically live a more like leisurely life as like a Renaissance man, rather than be like, oh, I need to like constantly be
Hustle,
hustling and
hustle.
like yeah, making more money than I would ever really realistically know what to do with, which for me is like
Yeah.
50 grand a year. I could live like a king because like I don't know, I take like 2 trips a year.
Yeah.
I like nice coffee and really good tea. And
Relatable.
aside from that, everything else I like to do is free. Like I like going for walks and taking
Mm.
baths and reading books, and that's like most of my life, and cooking. So I buy like good food, but you
Yeah.
know that's pretty much that's pretty much what I
I love
spend
it
my money
though.
on.
Because like so much
What?
of the copywriting world is so much of like hustle, money,
Yeah.
agency, start, hire other people,
Yeah.
like go,
I
go,
was in
never
that
stop.
trap for like years, and the reason I like hark on this so much is because I almost drove myself insane with it. I was like, oh, I'm going to
Same.
do this copywriting thing, and then also try and start an agency, and then I'm going to start. I wanted to start like a VR real estate
Oh
walkthrough,
God.
like those Matterport cameras. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I'll
yeah, yeah.
start that too. Why not? And
Why not? Yeah.
like,
Why not have
oh, I
seven
like
businesses?
moving things. I should start a moving company, and
Oh
it's
God,
like
yeah.
just stop it, dude. Like and it's just stupid because like if you want to make an extra $2,000, just get another writing client. Like stop trying to like I don't know, do this like weird thing.
That's what I tell people. And like, I think everyone thinks like, especially when people are just starting out, they think you have to have like 30, 40 clients. And I'm like, literally like
Oh
5 is like
God. Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Like 5 to 10 is like,
Yeah. That's the sweet spot, 5 to
yeah.
10.
And more than that. And you're just like a manager of like
Yep.
humans and people. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's all
that's the
you
other
need.
reason I don't
Like,
do the agency route is like
yes.
I am in this business because I like writing. And it took me forever to like admit that to myself. Cause again, even like the
Mm,
first part of my story I was telling you about, I was just like I knew I wanted to be a writer and just like never actually accepted it.
right.
Uh, and part of that too is because I would also advise people to be very careful of like sharing your goals to people, even if they are like family members or like people who
Oh,
you
yeah.
respect. Like if they're not writers, I would not tell them very much about what you're doing because for some reason there's this tendency if you're doing like anything creative and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, I want to be a writer. Like I feel called to do that. I've always been like really good at it. I'm sure I can do that. There's tons of people doing it online, whatever, people anytime I've told that to someone in my life, they've been like, ha, foolish child, like you
You must
cannot
suffer like
make
the rest
a
of us.
living writing.
Plebs.
Yeah, like I hope you like being a teacher or like going into
Yes.
law. And it's like I never really like felt like it was bothering me, but I'm sure I internalized that along the way, and it's part of like what led to me putting off my like jump into this for so long.
So many
But it's
people
also
do.
just such a like obnoxious thing to say when you think
Mhm.
about it. Like if someone came up to me and was like, I really want to be a marine biologist. Like I love it. I'm really good at it. I'm super passionate about it. I'm sure I can do it. I would never be like, oh, marine biologist. Good luck, making a living doing that. Like if someone said that, you'd just be like, okay, like I didn't realize you were a career expert in like the
Right.
marine
Yeah.
biology like career path.
Right.
But for some reason, if you're doing something creative, I guess it's just
Yes.
because everyone like went through like writing and English in school. They feel like they have the ability to like comment on it, even having like literally no experience in it at all. So like
Yeah.
I would say like stick to talking to other writers if you are like looking for advice. But also even
Yeah.
with that, I would find like a writer who has like a similar lifestyle to you. So
Yes.
like, don't necessarily follow people who have like an agency of like 12 people, because that person is a project manager. Like they're not a writer. So
Yeah. Not
sorry,
anymore.
like everyone who's like, that's the other reason I started my channel and like why people like you so much, I think, Jackie, is because like
Mm.
everyone else on YouTube that is like makes copywriting content is not a freelance copywriter. Like maybe they own their own offer or they have an agency or
Yes.
and whatever, like those things are great to have, but you're
Mhm.
not like, that's why none of the content is like actually about running a freelance copywriting business. It's
Or
all like
writing it
you can
all.
still like make stuff about like, oh, how to get your emails in the primary tab, or like I don't know,
Yes.
like here's how to write a good headline, but none of it is actually about like getting clients or like
The hustle.
the in the trenches of like being a freelance writer, which is why like I've gotten like, I think I mentioned you offhandedly in like
Yeah.
one of the videos on my channel, and people like, I've gotten like half a dozen comments of people like, I love Jackie Pierce. She's my favorite copywriter on YouTube. And I'm like,
I just started binging your
yes,
stuff. I
like,
didn't even see that. That would make me sweat. I'm gonna
yeah,
ignore that. It feels so weird.
yeah, no, but people like I would say just keep that in mind too. If people are watching this and want to start anything of their own, like people resonate with like genuine people, and also like
Yeah.
you also have to think in terms of like if you want to be consistent at like doing something, whether it's writing or like making videos, like you have to make it enjoyable. And so I
Yes.
decided I would never be the YouTube channel who is like, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Quick cut. Oh, today we're going to learn quick cut edit.
Video
Because
editing,
I
text,
hate
colors.
watching stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know, like I would never do that. And also like the fake like uptalk voice that people do when they like get on camera for some reason. I
It's
just
a
decided
lot.
like I'm not doing any of this because if I do, I'm going to hate doing this project. And
Yes.
so I didn't expect people to like specifically like that about my channel, but I've gotten notes that they do because people want to hear from like real people. I mean, that's the
Yes.
reason like enterprise news is like dying, and like no one, people just watch YouTube because they'd rather hear from like
Hang out with like
their
friends.
peers than like some anchor who is owned by like a corporate entity. And so
Yes.
if you come on here and you just sound like someone like that, then like I don't know, you're kind of dismissing the whole like advantage that that this platform offers. So it's another
Yes.
side rant, but
No, I
hopefully
feel
that
that
helps
though. I
someone. Yeah.
definitely, yes. And I think anybody who wants to start a channel, like just keep it like, I see people like get on here and they try and like do all this advice that like they think that like the big, like they see the big channels and they're like, oh, I have to do exactly that and I have to talk about all this
Yeah.
complicated stuff. And I'm like, just talk about you. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
if you're
that's the other
interested
thing I
in
would say is
philosophy,
like
like
it's
talk about it.
actually people, what people think is their like limiting factor, or what's like people think like, oh, I'm pretty early on in this journey, like I'm never gonna have a following because I need to be like Alex Hormozy or Grant Cardone and make like have like $1 billion company. And it's like, no, like people, like I don't relate at all to either of those guys. Like every once in a while they'll say something that I think is cool, like, oh,
Yeah.
10 exit, and I'm like, okay, I guess
You're like, all right, 10x, you're gonna do that.
it's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I did that.
And but like if you are just the guy who is like 1 or 2 steps ahead of the people you're trying to help, they're actually
Yes.
going to relate to you way more than someone who is like 20 steps ahead of them and like owns a bunch of yachts and has like $1 billion real estate portfolio.
Yes.
Like people watch stuff like that for like entertainment, but they don't like, they're more likely to like genuinely bond with and like trust people that actually are like real and have like a more relatable life. And so yeah, that I would say just like be genuine, you know?
Yes, and talk about your interests, even if they're like, and you're like, oh, this isn't related. And I'm like,
Yep.
so much of it is
Yeah.
interconnected. Like all
Yeah.
of it is interconnected.
Yeah. Like side tangent on that, like funny
Yeah.
story. So my like channel I have now, high impact writing or whatever,
Yeah.
is when I first started it, it was like, I think I called it My Financial Freedom or something. And I made literally every mistake you could possibly make. Like my audio and video production quality was absolutely terrible. The channel was
Relatable.
about like just like making money online and also like investing and also
Okay.
writing at the
Yeah.
same time, which is like
All of it.
would never work at all. So like obviously the channel like basically died in the water in the first like couple months, except for like one video where I was just like ranting in a Slayer t-shirt about copywriting and drinking like a Bang energy drink and just like
Yes.
talking about copywriting for like for like 10 minutes. And that video has like gone viral for me. It has like
Yeah.
2,000 views or something. But I basically forgot about the channel completely and just like came back to it. And people were commenting like, this is the only honest video I've ever seen on the subject. This is the best copywriting video I've ever seen. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, okay, I guess I should like talk more about this, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense because I do it all day. Like, why are you talking about like investing when you unless you're like, I don't know. So yeah, that's what I would say is make some stuff and like see what resonates with people.
Throw it out there, and especially
yeah.
talk about what like frustrates you about an industry, because everyone's talking about how like great it is. And
Yep.
it's like I got on here and I was like, these guys are full of shit. Here's
Yeah.
like,
Or
here's
they
your
just
first
all
client.
give the same advice because it's all
Or
like
that.
the agreed upon thing that you should do is like just today I saw someone who I'm sure like I respect and like makes like 10 times more money than I do. And he was like, someone asked like, how do I get started copywriting? And he's like,
Yeah.
well, I hand copied Gary Halbert's sales
Oh
letters for
God.
6 to 8 months. And I'm like, literally, that's what he said. And I see people saying that like all the time. And it's like,
All the time.
it's fine to do that if you really want, but it's like, if you want to start like making money and like pivoting into this business, just like write a blog for somebody, like
Yes.
do any paid project for somebody, and like
Any.
do like do something to like build your portfolio and career, instead of just like I don't know,
Copying some
doing this
old
like
dead
ritual
dude.
that you have to do for 6 months before you're allowed to get started as
Yes.
you
And
know, a
so many of those
writer.
techniques are so old. Like I read so much of like the old classic like ads, and
Yeah,
people are like, "Oh, let's bring these back," and I'm like, I read them, and I'm
right.
like, should
I
we?
don't get it at all. Like
Should
I would
we?
rather, like, I have like direct response writers who I do like admire and respect, but they're
Yeah.
mostly like email guys. So like Ben Settle and Matt Fury. But like if you want to uh, like, why wouldn't you handwrite something that is working today that someone is using to sell products right now, like this
Yes.
morning? Like if you were going to hand copy something, like I would hand copy those emails, but then it's like I feel like an idiot because I'm writing an email by hand, and it's like, maybe you should feel like
Yes.
an idiot. It's a dumb thing to do. Like why are you doing that? But
I'm so
yeah.
glad you agree, because I see it all the time. Everybody goes like, anybody who's like worked with me, they're like, "Oh, is that like my first assignment?" And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not gonna give that to you. That's gonna take you weeks.
right.
And they're like, we need to do clients by like 2 weeks from now. Are you
Yeah,
out of your mind? Oh my God. Oh,
yeah. And not everyone wants to write sales letters. Like, again, I haven't done
right.
a single one, so it's like, I don't know. Like if you're just getting started into this, like you don't even know what you want to write yet. Like
Yes.
when I was starting, I did literally everything, like web copy, blogs, emails, ironically, everything except for sales letters. I pretty much ended up
So many
writing.
people
Uh,
don't do them at all. Like everyone thinks it's
yeah,
like the pinnacle, and I'm like,
yeah. I don't know.
those are not
It seems like if
everywhere.
you're like a normal company, I don't know what the need is to do them. Like
I've
I just
never met
talked to
anyone who's a
someone
lot.
today who was like, they do like casino remodels and designs
Mm,
and building, and it's like, yeah, like and they need help with like their project pages and some case studies, and like I would rather write for that person every day. Like it's just
yeah.
like a normal business that doesn't even do any advertising, that probably makes tens of millions of dollars every year, and they don't need like any kind of like VSL or like any of that. So
Right.
it's like, it just depends on what you want to do, I guess.
Yeah. And like to have a sales page, you need to have, first of all, a product worthy of an entire sales page, which is not like
Yeah,
headphones or most things
yeah,
that are for sale. And I'm like, and you need a lot of them. If you think you're
yeah.
going to write like 20 for a client, I'm like, do they have 20
No.
products for
And
sale?
the reason these things are so long is because people have a million objections because they don't know anything about you or your product or
Right.
your company. Um, like usually, I think like a lot of direct response is like, um, it gets sent to like cold traffic, and that's supposed to be the thing that's super cool about it, is like, oh, this is converting on cold traffic, like whatever. But then the
Mhm.
reason it's so like spammy and annoying is because you have to like hit people over the head with like, here's how great this thing is, like you
Yes.
have no resistance to how amazing this thing is, even though
Yes.
you don't trust
2,000
me at
words.
all. Yeah. Yeah, so
Yes.
like all the things I bought online, I've told people before, is like stuff from you or stuff from Income School or stuff like,
Mhm,
I don't think
mhm.
I've bought anything from Miles Beckler, and the guy has like changed my life. So I would buy something from him in a heartbeat if it made sense to do. But they're like, none of them have ever been like a VSL, a 30-minute like
Right.
video sales letter. Like it's been people who just like help me for like years, and then I see
And yeah,
something that can help me even more that's for sale, and I'm like, okay, I'll buy this
I'll take
thing.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. And half the time for me, it's just to like thank them. Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's usually helpful, but I'm
yeah.
like,
Like the Income School course,
thanks for that
I was like,
content.
it's like pretty good, but like 80% of the stuff I already knew from like binge watching their channel. But like
Right. Yeah.
400 hours of like watching their channel, probably, that, and their course is like $400, $1 an hour, plus I got some
Right. You're like,
extra value adds out of
thank
it,
you.
like
Yeah.
every day. So I would pay for that. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that was an absolute I mean, I love it because I think we're on the same page of like
Yeah.
casual lifestyle, like less stress, less pressure, less people to manage, less
Yep.
all that, you know. So I know people obviously are going to check out your YouTube channel. I know I'll link to your website, I'll link your
Yeah.
Twitter. You know, everyone go follow Corbin. He's
Yeah,
got
I'll
some
tell
fire
people
tweets.
just the YouTube is high impact writing, and then on Twitter I'm at Buff Corbin, which is kind of bad in hindsight. It sounds like a porn star name or something, which I promise is not what my Twitter is.
But it's there in
Far
case you
from it.
decide to switch careers down the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. I'm setting myself up for a pivot early on
You know,
if
just in
when the
case.
time is
It's not
right.
a bad idea. You know?
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, I so beyond appreciate having you here. We will definitely chat again in the future because I always
Yeah.
love to talk philosophy because that's my favorite other side topic that
Yeah,
I love to
my
talk.
channel's not at the point where it's big enough to like to host stuff like this really and have it make sense.
Oh, but I will totally be
But
on anytime and
yeah.
like I would
Yeah, I'd
send
love
out
to
my
have
email
you on, and
newsletters.
I'm excited to see the other people you have on your channel. I'll do it vicariously through the
Yes, any other
podcasting
writers,
experience.
please.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad you pitched yourself. I was like, people, pitch yourself, please. Like, I
Yeah.
want to interview
I'm
other
surprised no
writers.
one has said anything to you because
A
I
little
didn't even
bit
do
in like
like a formal
emails, but
pitch. I
like
was just
that
like,
like
I think you mentioned in one video like something I resonated with, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to talk about that.
and I was like,
Um,
yes.
which is kind of, by the way, how I think about like networking or
It
like
is.
networking is just
It's
like,
so casual and it
yeah,
can be. You don't have to
yeah,
like wear the suit and tie and like go to networking events and like shake
yeah,
hands and like have
no,
your cards printed and like I'm like just like say what's up on Twitter. Like
yeah,
that's like so much of it.
yep,
Awesome. Well, I think we will wrap that up here, but that was amazing.
cool.
I will say
All right, thanks,
goodbye, but
Jackie.
like